Well, hello, Facebook. Going to do a little teaching today. We'll wait a few minutes for people to get on. Give you an opportunity here to share the video with others. Just wanted you to do something a little different today. Kind of wore out, I guess, with some of the things I've been seeing in Facebook land. Let's see here. Let me take a moment to share this out onto my page, if I can find it here, and then we'll get going. Just decided to do something with all the virus stuff that's going on. Here we go. Yeah, let's see. I can't really share that. I guess I'll just roll with it as is. So, I wanted to share today about something different. I don't want to share about the virus. I don't want to share about us all being in lockdown and all these other things that are going on. I wanted to share something that's more positive, more effective than some of this, so that we would be doing something that's constructive in this hour. You know, there's so many opinions going on right now of what's going on, and I've done a blog on it and I've done a video on it, and I'm probably not going to do much more on it. I'm studying into some things and I'm listening to what God is saying in this hour, and I'm going to post those things here and there, but I'm not going to be doing a lot of posting every day like a lot of people are. What I've kind of came to conclusion is there's actually two viruses going on. There's I call it a man-made virus we're all dealing with, but there's a second virus more dangerous than the first, and it's the virus that's running rampant on Facebook between ministries. And the accuser of the brethren, the finger pointing, all of those things is not gaining us anything in this hour. Don't worry, I just got a dry cough. So, but what I wanted to do is start to do some classes online, some teaching online, to take advantage of this season that everybody's down more or less and not doing much. Itinerant ministries aren't traveling. Churches, of course, are more or less closed, and a lot of people are at home. And I thought, what a great opportunity with a captive audience to do some teaching that could be productive for people. And so I wanted to do several different teachings. We're going to do some here on this area in Legacy School, and we're going to do some in the Legacy online webinar area, because it's more interactive with questions and answers. And we're going to also try to do, I'm going to probably cover a lot of classes on what people are interested in. Some will be the paid classes on the Legacy School. Others will be here on Facebook. And if you can't make classes, anything on Facebook is archived. Everything on the Legacy School website is archived. So no matter where you end up at, if you're working, if you're not available, you're going to be able to take some of these classes. And I've got literally about 700 hours of classes that I have developed. I have a 70-hour class just on the life of Paul and Timothy. And I'm going to teach some of these classes in the next month because of this way we're locked down. And some of these I'll scatter on out through the year. But today I'm going to talk about a class that it's literally been probably 12 years since I last taught this, but yet it's relevant to today. And what's relevant about it is the fact that in this crisis that we're in, one of the things that I'm hearing from a lot of people is, where is the voices that we should follow? What should we be following? This immense sorting out that's going on in the body of Christ. I think it's actually good for us, healthy for us to reevaluate ourselves and what we are doing, to reevaluate our alignments, our alliances, our affections, what we believe, and who are we following and who are we listening to. And so this class is called, it's called Honorable Men and Women for Alliances. And this was a class actually that I taught in a alliance that I built of leaders that was about 80 leaders. And I was hoping that we could build something very solid. But I ended up dissolving that alliance because we were not serious about in the alliance that had been built. So this is coming out of Genesis 14. And I'm going to read some scripture. We'll get started here today. This is probably going to be about a 45-minute to an hour class. If you want to share this out on your Facebook page and let people know that it's going on, that'd be great. I'm not after trying to build numbers, on the stream. I'm just trying to get information out to encourage people in this hour. And so what God is wanting to do in this hour, He's wanting to build strong alliances in relationship. We have relationship, but we actually don't have much for alliances. Alliances come over us going through things together. Even this virus is not really a communitas moment of us going through much together. I'm talking about when we are defending each other, fighting for each other, and got each other's backs, even to our own detriment. Now that builds alliance. And you don't know what is inside of a person until you get faced with opposition. Do they abandon? Do they run? Do they stand alongside? Do they come with you? In Genesis 14:13, verse 18, then Abraham removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. If you back up and you start to read in this chapter, you see that the Lord said to him that Lot has been separated from him. Lot wanted to go down a different direction. There has to be a separation from those people we're in relationship with that are detrimental in our life. Lot was being detrimental in what Abraham was going to do upon the earth. He was separated away. He made his own choice to go a different direction. Even though he had a relationship, he didn't value the relationship enough to go with Abraham. And when he had separated and when that division had happened, when he had walked away and went a different direction, that's when the Lord told him in verse 17, He told Abraham, arise and walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. And so we're all contending for our lands, and we're all contending for what God has called us to do as far as vision and destiny in this hour. But what's really important here is to see the verse that I read in verse 18. Then Abraham removed his tent. He had to relocate. He had to come out of what was familiar and go to a new place. And when he did, he came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. So he builds an altar, which is a place of ministry to the Lord. It's also a place of prayer. It's also a place of seeking God's face for direction. And it's also a place where we do an offering back unto the Lord. And so he does this at the place of Mamre. Mamre, he says, is Hebron. Now, when you look at the word Mamre, it means the place of vision and seeing. And when you look at the word Hebron, it means the place of association and alliance. So when you start to bring the two words together, and he says he did this at Mamre, which is Hebron, the place of association and alliance is the place where you have clear vision, where you have insights into what God is saying in that hour and what God is asking for you to do. Abraham ends up getting in kind of a predicament because, we'll just read it here in Genesis 14:13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abraham. And we'll cover what that word means here in a moment, the word confederate. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them and his servants by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobiah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Hebron was a mountain. It was a high place. Hebron is an advantage place, an advantage point. Hebron in Arabic means the friend, means a friend connecting. And so Abraham was a friend of God, and it's appropriate that he was there at a place where this is the place where you connect in friendship. In that place, he had 318 servants. And these basically were slaves that he had purchased. But these were men that were trained, and they were living in Mamre and living in Hebron. They were living in seeing and vision, and they were living in alliance and association with Abraham. They were basically mighty men of war. They were like David's men. They were men that knew times and seasons. They were men and leaders who knew the word of the Lord that was resting on Abraham and were willing to obey it and see it fulfilled. So Abraham, or Hebron, actually is a place that represents the place of transfer of affections to those that are leading and guiding. Now, if you imagine this, he has these men, these 318 men, who are more or less slaves. They are working for him, laboring for him, but he did not look at them so much as slaves. He looked at them more as sons. Even though they were purchased as to be hired help, more or less, he did not appear that way with them. Because what slave goes to war for the one that owns them? You don't do that. You go to war with the ones that you cherish, love, and see have invested into your life. And so when we start talking about Hebron alliances, we're looking for honorable men and women that we can go to war with. The people that I build alliance with, the sons and daughters that I have, are all people that I would war for, and I would count on them warring for me if we were in a battle. And so Hebron is that place of association that's deeper than just acquaintance, or deeper than just somebody I met at a conference. It carries a greater weight of value. Now, the two men that came, it says that they were confederate to Abraham. The word confederate means Lord. They were under the lordship of Abraham, and they were submitting themselves to him. And so they were really allies of Abraham, and the word ally is also another word that means alliance. And allies are ones that are in covenant, and they were in covenantal agreement with Abraham. And through that, then, they were possessors, more or less, of the same covenant that Abraham was trying to bring into the earth. So when he went on to this battle, he had 318 of these men that were in alliance, that were in Hebron, that had vision and seeing, that had been raised in the same atmosphere, carrying the same DNA as Abraham. And just kind of paraphrasing the story here, so we don't have to just read it and try to sort it, basically, they went 140 miles on foot, chasing these people down. They went to Dan. And Dan was the northern edge of the promised land, and he pursues them all the way to Hobaiah, which Hobaiah means the hiding place. So he was pursuing the enemy all the way to the place the enemy was actually hiding, and he wasn't pursuing alone. He was pursuing with these 318 trained men. And these same people, he divided into groups, and he gave them authority to fight into battle and do what needed to be done in the battle. He wasn't micromanaging all 318 men when they went into war. He was allowing them to make their own choices and decisions of what was best to win the battle that was setting in front of them. And the victory comes to him, and it comes basically because of two things. One, he came to Mamre, the place of vision and seeing. He had the advantage point of being able to see into the Spirit, and I believe also so did the 318 men. They saw into the Spirit as well, and they saw that there was victory. They saw that they were on assignment. They saw there was something of the kingdom, and they also were in a place of alliance. And when you have people that are in alliance with you is when you can really pursue to go into battles. Now, when you think about what these men's DNA was, their DNA were they were honorable men. They were honorable to Abraham as a leader. They were not despising his leadership. They were under his authority. They were under his lordship. They were allowing him to lead how he felt was best. All of these things were sitting there as he was going into this war so he could count on them. The other thing is in this hour, what I'm seeing, kind of flip back into Facebook land here a little bit, is that I'm not seeing that place of honor being given to each other in the body of Christ right now on social media. I see judgment, I see criticism, I see all these things. In all honesty, I'm seeing people that I don't want to go to war with. I may battle for them, I may pray for them, but can I count on them? Will they turn on me when I make decisions that may seem contrary to what they believe? And so when we look at Hebron, I've done a lot of teaching on Hebron. I've got probably a couple hours of teaching just on Hebron, but it's also the place where Sarah died. And it's the place where Abraham purchased the cave. And it's also the place where he set up to be as a long-term place in the land. And isn't it interesting that the site where basically in the Arabic means the sacred area of the friend is where actually he buried Sarah. And the woman who carried the covenantal promise was buried within the place of vision and seeing. And so I think there's something to learn here, that if we are going to come into these kinds of alliances, they are long-term alliances in the land. They are long-term places where we make commitment into the land, to the place that we die in the land. We lay ourselves down, and we realize that we are constantly living in the place of vision and seeing, and constantly in the place of alliance. Later on, we see that when they went into the promised land, Hebron plays an important role of looking into the promised land and scoping out the land and seeing what is setting there. The defeat of Jericho, I believe that Joshua and Caleb were looking down into Jericho off of Hebron. We also see that Hebron was a place where Caleb asked for an inheritance, and the inheritance that he got was Hebron. At Hebron is the place where David received his anointing to be a leader, and it's actually the place where he received the 3 anointings that were in his life. At Hebron is where all the tribes came to make him king, to make David king. Hebron is also the place where lifelong alliances have been formed scripturally. And so when we start looking for honorable men and women, we start looking for who holds those kinds of qualifiers for a Hebron alliance in this day and hour. And so that's kind of my introduction. Okay, that's the introduction for this. I'm going to start to get into 7 points, 7 things, 7 qualifiers we're looking for that we can see with Abraham's 318 servants that they carried, that we also see that others carried, that came into alliance. Even these same things came into alliance with David. So I hope that's not too fast, but I wanted to get past some introduction. So, number 1, who are we looking for? We're looking for people that carry the same covenant and partake of the same destiny. We're looking for people that have the same covenant as we do and are looking to partake of the same destiny we're carrying. These men had the same vision, just like David's mighty men had the same vision. And there was a commitment to go the distance. When you think about it, they actually traveled 240 miles chasing the enemy to recover everything. I wonder how many of us are willing to travel 240 miles on foot to recover the things that we have lost, or to sacrifice for the things that we have lost. But they saw that what they were going after was the recovery of the destiny of what Abraham was to do in the earth. So they had a commitment to the long distance because they had the same vision. And they were willing to finish that same destiny. None of those men abandoned Abraham in the journey. They were willing to sacrifice to see the covenant upon his life be the reality being formed into the earth. And they connected uniquely to parts of Abraham's life. He saw them not as servants, but he saw them as sons. And he saw how they would fit and find a place in the same inheritance that he carried. He was trying to bring the whole 318 people into an inheritance that was resting upon his life, that he was willing to share into their lives. And so we're looking for these that will partake of the same covenant, be partakers of the same destiny, that have been placed upon the earth for the same moment of time, those that have vision and seeing what that destiny is, those that have come into alliance with that destiny. So they're fighting for that destiny like you're fighting for that destiny. And, we're looking for these that won't abandon. And so that's point number 1. Number 2, we're looking for men who will go out and battle for us and battle with us to fight our enemies. We're looking for people who will go out to battle for us and will battle with us in fighting our enemies. We are not sending people into battle unwilling to go ourselves. We are going with them. We're looking for people who will go to battle, be willing to do spiritual warfare and to war, and to go after things that need to be accomplished in this hour. But we're also looking for those that will stand alongside us in our battles. We see that as team ministry in the New Testament, especially at Acts 3 at the Gate Beautiful, where Peter and John are sitting there, and Peter is the one that raises his hand out and says, "Silver and gold have I none." But John also says, "I got to go to jail with you." It's like, you're not alone in this, Peter. We're in alliance. I see vision and destiny upon your life. I'm here to help you fulfill it. You're here to help me fulfill it. So I'm not abandoning you when I go out into this battle. So we're looking for those that have the right heart attitude when we go to battle. We're not looking for insubordinate people. We're not looking for people that question our moves or question our understanding. We're looking for people that will follow because they know we're in the same destiny and vision. They've already got those things settled in their heart. We don't have to explain to them every detail of why the battle is going on or what's going on in the battle. And we also are looking for people that have the freedom to interact in the spirit to accomplish the task in battle. We're not sitting here trying to tell everybody what to do in battle, but we're here to say there is a destiny that we are battling for. In this hour in America, there's a destiny of the church we're battling for. And we're looking for people that know how to negotiate that path because they've been at the place of hearing and seeing, and they have confidence because they've been in alliance with others that are willing to fight and battle with them. And this is not battling and fighting each other, and that's what I'm seeing right now. We need honorable men and women to be posting on Facebook and social media. We need to be battling the enemy of our soul and the accuser of the brethren, not partaking with it through a religious spirit. And this is very upsetting to me. That's why I'm doing this teaching, because this is contrary to all that junk that I'm seeing that's taking us in a different path than we need to be. This is a season that we should be finding each other and aligning with each other and building alliances for the future. So in 40 days, 30 days, 20 days, whatever it is, when we come out of here, we're in the same destiny, we've seen the same vision, and we found others of like faith, and we're going in the same direction, and we're going out to battle. Battles are always fought over covenant, and they're always fought over the destiny of that covenant. There is a covenant with the people of God in this hour, and this is a battle not about a virus. This is a battle about a covenant. This is a battle about, will we allow the destiny of God to be stolen from us, or will we rise up and be the destiny of God within the land? Abraham was destined to be the father of many nations. He had things of doubt and unbelief, but Romans 4 says when he became fully persuaded, then the promise came. And there's times that we have doubt and unbelief. There's times that we wonder, but we always come around to being fully persuaded. And I think when you have people supporting you in battle, it's easier to become fully persuaded. Right now, I'm not seeing us persuading each other. I'm seeing us tearing each other down and being critical of each other. Battles are also fought for others because we value them. We value what other people are saying and doing. We value the glory of God resting inside of them. We value the gifts inside of them. I honestly believe that Abraham saw the value of his 318 servants, not as slaves, but as sons and as ones that would help him fulfill destiny. When they recovered everything, they were going to be able to go forward into everything. And so battles are fought because we value people. How much do we value the people that are in hopelessness today in America? The value the ones that are lacking faith instead of criticizing them. And so battles are always fought over what we value. And the more we value it, the harder we will fight. And that right there is cluing you in a lot of things right now. Is the church valuing its position in the land? Is the church valuing who it is in the land? Is the church valuing the people given its entrustment into communities and the land? Are they fighting for them? Are they praying for them? Are they interceding? Are they continually contending? And battles are always fought over covenantal issues. And we have a covenant with God, and the battle is the kingdom going to be seen or not? Are we going to get a kingdom that we can give to the Father when he returns? Are we going to be a bride without spot or blemish? Are we going to rise up and be who he says we are in the earth? Many times battles are fought for the sake of other people's dreams. Many times we battle for someone else's vision to be formed, for someone else's hope inside of them, for what they carry inside of them. And so what it kind of comes down to in the area of valuing is that your personal destiny will only be found in a corporate destiny. And the reason is because you are not going to be able to battle to find your destiny without the help of others battling alongside of you. You need the corporate body. One man sharpens another as iron sharpens iron. You need the corporate body to be able to sharpen you, to have vision for you, to speak into your life, to affirm you, to value you. And this is one of the main things I think in this hour that God's trying to get us into the church. We're hearing a lot of, well, everyone's going to really value being together. I understand that. But I'll tell you what you're missing out on is the value of a corporate atmosphere. I'm valuing the getting together with people, but I value the corporate atmosphere more so than valuing the people. Now, the people are creating that atmosphere, so in a roundabout way, you are valuing them, but it's completely different when you step into a corporate atmosphere. And that's made up of everybody coming in the same direction with the same DNA, the same vision, the same everything, and they're coming into a corporate understanding of the moment of what they are to do in the earth. So that's the first 2 points. Number 3, we're looking for men and women who become a part of our strategy for kingdom advancement. I'm constantly looking and saying, God, who are the ones that I am to connect with? Who are the ones that you've brought across my path? What is their role in this hour? I look at the alliances that I have. I look at how I can strategically do things with the people that I have. Abraham divided his resources for a strategic battle. And a lot of people have said to me, why can't we all just be together in a collective? Well, in a collective, we're not going to be able to do much. But when we're separated, we're touching a lot of areas. The problem is we're not in alliance with each other where we got each other's back when we're battling. There's a lot of battling going on right now in this hour. We need to have each other's backs. We need to, in a lot of ways, we really need to form an alliance, not a network, not any of this stupid religious stuff, but to form an alliance that says, I've got your back, I got you covered. And so you use people that you trust. A prophet told me a long time ago, he said, you don't put people in place by giftedness, you put them in place by faithfulness. You put them in place that they showed up. They may not know everything, but that doesn't matter. Are they faithful? If they're faithful, God can use them. If they have gifting, they may not be faithful. See, faithful ones are going to complete. They're going to finish. They're going to see vision. They're going to understand. They're going to pursue. And so we're looking for those kinds of people to become part of strategy. What a strategy to have faithfulness. We're using their strengths as strategy. People's strengths, not their weakness, not seeing their shortcomings, seeing what do they have to offer, then figuring out how to strategically place them to be part of strategy. Not just placing them in a body to function and do something, but placing them in so they are actually the strategy. To me, resources is not money, it's people. People is the greatest resource that we can have. And so we're looking for these people that become part of strategy. And to become part of strategy, there's a trust factor that's involved because they have to put their lives into the hands of another. They have to say, what do you see? Where do you think I should fit? What do you think I should do? And without that, they may not be able to attain the fullness that God has planned for them. And so this is a risk. It's really a risk-taking thing to become part of a strategy for kingdom advancement. There's no guarantee of success of the battle except we have promises. There's lots of opposition that's coming. There's things that are going to try to stop and oppose. But if everybody's got everybody's back, you're all being opposed, not a single person being opposed. You see the difference. So there's a risk-taking, and then there has to be a willingness to say, are you looking out for my well-being? And, you know, as I raise sons and daughters, there's always that moment of time where they're wondering, does he really have my best interest in store? And basically all it is for me is riding out the storm, and eventually they see that, yeah, I'm here for the long term. I'm here. I'm not going away. I'm not going to ditch you. I'm not going to reject you or push you aside. And there is a risk that's involved in that, but are you willing to take that for your own well-being, because it is for your own well-being? And so then we have to then start creating room for those that have risked their life, that have been faithful, to start unlocking their future. And so there's key people that God has for all of us to fulfill the vision that we have, the destiny that's setting there. I tell people there is a people created for you. You just got to find them. And you got to figure out then, how do I see them? Do I see them as someone sitting in a chair, or do I see them as someone that is part of the strategy for what we want to accomplish? And so there's a big difference. So we got to be very confident in the vision that we have, see where we first started out, and the alliance that we have, where this is not done out of obligation. It's done because it's a real heart attitude of how we're approaching things. Number 4. I hope you're enjoying these. I always enjoy teaching. I love teaching. I love teaching these kinds of concepts and things, but you can see these things biblically as a pattern. But number 4, what we need for honorable men and women for an alliance is ones that have exercised limited authority over the house and are still producing results. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying, hey, you're in charge of the whole house, we're saying, hey, you're in charge of these areas. Can you produce results with the authority you have? You may have limited authority, but you still should be able to produce results no matter the level of your authority. We've all been given the same authority, and for the most part, it's probably more limited than we realize. A lot of times we have a concept of thinking more highly of ourselves than we are, but even in our limited authority, we have enough authority to defeat everything, every principality and power, to heal the sick, to raise the dead. And in some ways, that's limited authority because Jesus gave us authority, and it was a proven authority that he gave us, but we don't have a full understanding of the depth of what that authority really is. If we did, we'd probably be tearing everything apart right now with this virus. We'd probably be going into hospitals and literally pushing our way through and healing the sick and seeing people get out. But there's a fear factor that's working against us. And I honestly think some of it is because the church isn't in alliance, because we've lost vision and the place of seeing, and we're not realizing that there's a destiny that's setting upon us. And so I think it's going to be a realigning and a readjusting of God doing things, of saying, you know, I want to sit under this person, or I want to go to this place, or I want to participate in this and that, because there's going to be benefits of our alliance that God's building. I honestly believe he wants to build an alliance in this hour. I've thought a lot about building an apostolic company of some sort that would be larger than just, you know, the ministry here, that would be throughout the U.S., but we got to have each other's backs. We've got to war for each other. We've got to, and not just the name. And I'm going to tell you something, it may have to be limited, not because of elitism, because if it gets too big, then you start to lose these things. And, you know, so there needs to be that kind of thing going on in the body of Christ right now. I think we know that we need each other, but do we see each other we need each other for strategy? And then back to this thing of authority, there's a great authority when we come together in agreement. One will put 1,000, but two will put 10,000. When we come together with that kind of heartfelt agreement, we can do business as the ecclesia in the earth, and we can change the course of things. So when we talk about having limited authority over the house but still producing results, it's, do you understand the boundaries of authority? Do you understand the assignment of authority? Do you understand the grace for authority? And are you not overstepping those and stepping into someone else's authority, but are you operating in where your covenant is with God and where your gifts are and your strengths are? That's the place of your greatest authority. And when you start to understand that, then you see how I can take this authority that I carry and add it with that authority that you carry and that authority that you carry. And now, I mean, just kind of step out of this a little bit. Instead of it, 2 shall put 1,000. What's 2 putting 1,000? Agreement. Well, what happens when 2 exercise authority? How does that work then? There's a multiplying factor of authority that starts to come. And that was something the Lord showed me a couple of weeks ago. We're coming into an authoritarian grace. And we're going to start to carry a multiplication of authority as our hearts start becoming knit in grace. There is a grace to knit and realign right now. There is a grace to come into agreement with some things that's going to create that kind of authority. The other thing that happens is when you start doing that, you start working as a team. And then the third thing, or 1, 2, 3, third thing under this point is that they saw Abraham as a spiritual father carrying a different type or degree of authority that they were setting and submitting themselves under. And there is an authority that spiritual fathers carry, just like all the ministry gifts. They all carry different authorities and graces, but they're there to bring the body of Christ together, where the body of Christ wins the war, not just those ministry gifts wins the war. I'm tired of this. We still have this one-man show of I prayed, I did this, I had this dream, I had this prophecy. No, God gave you the dream, God gave you the prophecy, God gave you the victory. Even in your own foolishness, he probably got you the victory. And so this authority is there to correct the corporate body, to bring it into function and alignment and order. That's what's needed right now, in all honesty, with everything that I'm seeing. There needs to be some form of correction. One of the classes someone asked me was, can you do basically a Matthew 18 church discipline class of how do we act out discipline and work with disciplines in addressing some of the issues that need to be addressed. But when we start moving in these authorities, we start moving in versatility. We start moving in different capacities and different functions, and we're allowing them to all have a say and a place. So you have to function in the authority that you've been given, in the full authority that you've been given, and then God will release more authority to you. And so that's the journey where we're heading into. Number 5. Receiving the leadership of Abraham as a father, 318 people saw him as a father in that moment. What I want to say about this, and I've got about 70 hours on the training of spiritual sons and daughters, and I'm going to do some of that probably as free classes on Facebook here in the next couple weeks. I may do these classes like every other day right now. See what my schedule's like, because I'm busy. I'm busier in this moment than ever because of, well, just the way my life is. So I'm going to have a break after all this. But number 5, receiving Abraham as a father. Here's what I tell people: treat your leaders how you would treat your father. If your father is a quality person and was a real father to you, treat your leaders how you would treat your father. Honor your leaders like you would honor your father. If you don't, otherwise you're really dishonoring. And the reflection of how honor is showed in a house is also going to be the reflection given outside the house. So if people come into a gathering and they see the dishonor that's given a leader, they automatically assume that they will be dishonored as well. So make sure that you're honoring people the way that you want to be honored. This is why I give extravagant offerings when people come here. If people are watching and they want to come and speak, don't come to get the offering. But we give extravagant offerings. I gave who is now my spiritual father, I gave him the largest offering he said he had received in 20 years, with a handful of people in the room. And it isn't because of us collecting money, it's the thing of honor. See, an offering is not about money. It's all about honor. If we go like this, we'll give and it'll be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over, and we think of money. Give honor, and honor will be given back to you, pressed down, shaken over, and running over. You see, it's like, who am I honoring that honor can return? And when we begin to honor leaders, and I'm not talking about this extravagant honor, I'm not talking about this groupie thing and, all that kind of goofy stuff and, people, that kind of thing. I'm talking about real honor from the heart, respecting what they've been through. And of course, leaders need to be people worthy of being honored. You can't demand honor. Honor is not something that is demanded or is obligation. Honor is about that you have invested into someone's life to the point that you've benefacted them. There's a benefit because of what you've done, and they want to honor you back because of that. As a leader, it's your actions first being shown, whether there's any return or not, and then it's those others if they want to honor you or not, but it's never demanded. That's why I put no demand upon anybody that we've ordained, connected to us, aligned with us, spiritual sons and daughters. I have never asked them to tithe or give or any of that. I feel that's wrong. I feel like it taints and it pollutes the relationship. It makes the relationship about finance instead of about hearts. And I just don't do it. I think it's very, very, very wrong. And so the pattern of how you run a house or a gathering with honor is going to be seen in how you honor others outside who might want to be a part of that. And so when we look at Abraham, he basically transformed his life into the life of those people. Those 318 went to war to honor him. I mean, that's pretty healthy, where their lives could be taken in the point of honor. And so we're setting up, I guess I call it like this, rules of engagement in all of our gatherings of how we're going to conduct ourselves. I'll say this, and I'm going to kind of move on. So I'm going to try to hold these to about an hour, roughly, or a little under. True sons and daughters in a house have a narrower pathway than others, and that's honorable. And the reason is because there's a greater investment in their lives as sons and daughters. And so there's a greater expectation of a return coming back. And that pathway becomes narrower of what they are to walk on. And that thing of honor then has to be seen more prevalent in how they honor. So this whole thing of spiritual fathering is huge. It is a very unique connection into leadership, but it's also part of, who do I want to go to battle with? Am I going to go to battle with my family, or am I going to go to battle with strangers? Am I going to go to battle with acquaintances, or am I going to go to battle with sons and daughters that I've trained that know my heart? And when they know my heart, they know how I would battle in that moment. And I know a lot of you have heard the stories of Africa and places where I've taken sons and daughters, and they acted, they spoke just like I would do, act and speak. And they caught on over there, the African leaders. They said, don't send yourself, send your sons, because they are going to do what you would have done in that moment. And I think that's an unbelievable compliment, but that's investment, but that's training, and that's seasoning. And it's also one of the things that I see more than ever is it's the seasoning of the leader more than it is the seasoning of the sons and daughters. You can't expect to lead people where you have not went, and you can't expect people to do what you're not willing to do. So for me as a leader, I'm willing to do anything. Just like Abraham, he went to battle with those 318. He didn't sit here like David did and hold back and ended up in trouble and immorality because he didn't go to war when kings go to war. He sent those people, but he went with them into battle. And so we've got to go to battle as well. And I believe there's parents that need to be seasoned. There's ones called to be fathers and mothers. They got to give something of value away so the others can grow, but they also got to get healed up of anything in their own life so that they can be effective. And all of those things come into fathering. And we could do a long teaching in this area. But we're back to the thing of honor. Where is the honorable men and women? Who do I want to build an alliance with? I mean, if you talk about what I just said, isn't that somebody you'd want to build an alliance with that's willing to invest into your life, and not to just to use you, but to place you, not to see you as just a money pit or a place, but to see you as somebody to draw from, to put into a place of destiny. You're part of the strategy. Number 6. We only got 2 of these left, so number 6. They're bought with a price, with a considerable investment that's been made into their lives. All of these were bought with a price, but I believe Abraham was not buying them to necessarily own them, but he was buying them so they would have a chance of coming into destiny, coming into vision, coming into alliance. We see that they gave their lives to the vision that Abraham was carrying. And so when you have honorable men and women, they are those who will allow the investment to produce something into their life. They'll take that investment and they'll produce a return, and they'll give something back. Are you a consumer or are you an investor? Sons and daughters, ones that are honorable, are investors. They'll figure out a way to invest when there is no other way to invest. I met a couple, I was in Ivory Coast, met a couple that had been there for a year on the field. And because out of sight, out of mind, all of their support had basically dried up. They didn't have enough money to get home, and we had met them there on the field. And eventually we ended up living about 3 houses from them in Virginia. When we moved into the area, we didn't even realize how close they were. We ended up moving down the street. But when they were over there, the pastor of the church, as a leader, felt responsible to them. So what he did, the church had no money. They were struggling financially. That pastor went out and did car washes with a couple of his elders and raised the money himself to get his members back off the field. Now, to me, that is honor. That's buying them with a price. See, it isn't just buying them to be a servant for you. It's that you're investing, you're putting your money, you're putting your sweat, your tears, your prayers, you're putting your life into that person. That's how you're buying somebody. That's the considerable investment that's put into people's lives. And then, is it too much to ask to say, I'd like to have a return back? Not a financial gain. I'd like to see you do something with your life. I'd like you to be productive with your life. I'd like you to accomplish something with your life. I don't think that's too much to ask. Yet I had somebody tell me that I was out of line to ask for that. And I said, after 4 years of investing in your life, it's too much to ask that you would step out in faith to do something? And they felt I was imposing. So, what has been invested is also expected to have a return. So there's a point of investment that stops when the return starts diminishing. When you don't see the action or the appreciation or the honor, at least for me, it's like, am I going to continue this investment, or do I give that investment to somebody that will produce something with it? And so Abraham, I think, saw that with his sons and daughters, these men that went to war. I think that when they came back, we can easily see that when he came back in chapter 14, he actually meets Melchizedek. And he gives Melchizedek tithes of this battle of where these went into war. It's like he literally was tithing into the priesthood of Melchizedek after he'd been to Mamre and Hebron, and then investment into these honorable men. And these men went and fought and battled and brought the spoils, and they brought the spoils back and gave the tithe back into. I mean, it's amazing when you start to see what unfolded because of Hebron and Mamre. And in all of this, they were building something, and that's point 7. It's the final point today. They were committed to building the kingdom together. We're looking for men and women in this hour that will build the kingdom, not point the finger. We're looking for people that will not be the accuser, but will look for answers, that will find scriptural basis of why things are the way they are and present them. We're looking for people that will hold the ground. We're looking for people that will work with sword in one hand and a hammer in the other and build. We're looking for builders in this hour. The whole nation is under construction right now. in the natural, the church should be building just as much. We should be coming out of this moment of time with strategy to build the kingdom in the future. We should be coming out of this moment of time of how am I going to build my people to overcome in the next time something like this happens. What is my position for the future? Instead of, oh, I'm just enjoying this sabbatical rest that was done by, not ordained by God. I'll just say it. It was pushed upon us by a virus, by a spirit of infirmity, by a religious spirit, by an antichrist spirit, and we're taking a sabbatical and then we're justifying it. Oh, we'll do something with God. The Holy Spirit never led us like Jesus was led into the wilderness. We have been pushed into the wilderness, driven into the wilderness, told that we're of no consequence. Well, how are we going to come out of this moment? I'm going to tell you something. What I see is there's got to be a group of leaders somehow that come together that have the mind of the Lord, that start to bring the mind of the Lord into the earth and start to strategize of how to build the people of God, not to control them or build a network or build a large thing, but somehow to activate them into the next thing they're supposed to be activated into. We got to have people that are committed to building the kingdom together. We're building the kingdom separated right now. You're doing your thing, you're doing your thing, and there's no cohesiveness to it. We got home groups meeting, got church groups meeting, little pockets groups in homes, but there's no connecting to an apostolic vision. It's like somehow this has got to come. So what are we looking for commitment? We're looking to people that have this faithfulness I talked about earlier over their giftedness and their abilities. We're looking for people that want to be developed, but they have desire, they've got passion, their heart is qualifying them. They're looking for that. They want to be built so that their life counts. This millennial generation is looking right now. They want to give themselves to a purpose, but they want the purpose to count. There are men that have all kinds of money, wealthy Christian men that want to give money to causes, but they want to see the cause produce. I mean, the resources are available. We got to have the vision come forth. And we're looking for men and women that allow themselves to be the resource. They allow themselves to come through the fire, the flame, the whatever, to be purified, to say, here I am, send me. What in the world are we doing in this hour with the people that are say, here I am, God, send me. We got to be sending people out. We got to put them into the field to labor. And they are the resource. So we're looking for people that also say, I belong. I have a sense of identity. I belong. I connect. I align. I see myself in this place fitting in. And here's what I kind of put to end this. We've got to be able to convey the sound of the house if we're expecting others to join a sound. We got to be able to convey the sound of an alliance if we're expecting people to join the alliance. We got to convey the sound of the vision and the place of seeing if we're expecting them to join in to seeing. So we're looking, a little sip of water. The air is extremely dry in this room. So we're needing those who we can trust our lives with. We're needing those that we would say, here's my life, you make a decision what you would do with my life. I'm saying that as a leader. The people that I'm in relationship with, I would trust them with my life. The sons and daughters I have, I would trust them with the right decisions concerning my life. When I traveled in Africa, my son over there, he would push me out of the way and jump in front of a car and sacrifice himself for me. In that nation, men holding hands was a sign that you were best friends, and if you messed with him, you messed with me. And at the airport, the first thing he would do was always grab my hand and hold it, and we would walk from that point forward with our hands holding hands as two men. It sounds kind of strange, doesn't it? My whole team kind of looked at me like, what's going on? But it's the highest form of saying, I've got your back, trust me. I'll give my life for you, trust me. We're looking for men and women that we can give our lives to, that they would do what is best for our life as well, both ways. We got to be able to give ourselves to people. And if you can't, I look at it like this. I don't want to ordain people that I wouldn't trust my kids with. I agree with what Rick Joyner said. That's how he does it. If I trust you with my own children, then I'll ordain you. So I have to know you that well that I would be willing to ordain you. We got to know those we got to know the people that we'd be willing to go to battle with and battle for. It's one thing to say I'll go to battle with you, but it's another thing to say I'll go to battle for you. When there's nothing that you can gain out of it, will you go to battle with them? You know, will you go to the places where there isn't any return at the beginning? That's what I do a lot. I was just in a small place, went there, and it's like my expectation was I don't expect anything. I'm here to battle with you and for you, not to sit here and take from you. So my final question for us today, let's see where we're at. You're right, about an hour. I thought it'd be about an hour. Is, are you the kind of leader that you would want to follow? It's a pretty sobering question, really, when you look at it. You know all of your shortcomings and all of your failures and all of the things that are your weaknesses. You also know all your strengths. But are you the kind of leader that you yourself would follow? Are you the kind of leader that you would want your children to follow, or your family to follow? And if you're not, shore up those areas and be that leader that you're supposed to be. And in all honesty, we need to be looking for the people that we really want to come into alliance with and really want them to be a part of our life, that we would battle with and go to war with and do the things that I've been talking about today. Because God is building, and he's been building, and I think he's going to continue to build a Hebron alliance. It may not be called that. It may not be called alliance. It may be called something else. But he's building and connecting people in alliances. And he's also building and connecting people that have vision that can see. Like Mamre, the place of vision and seeing. You can have vision and you can have seeing, and they're two distinct different things. You can see where we're going, but you may not have a vision for where we're going. But you can see in the same, and vice versa. And we're looking for these kinds of men and women, and they're starting to come across my path more and more. But I haven't done anything official of making something. I haven't done that route. I've done that like 4 times now. And there has to be a better way. And for me, where I'm at is I'm trying to, as busy as I am, and I'm extremely busy, I have a business that is not connected with this virus thing. And it's seasonal, and it explodes every year at this time. So right now, this is the busiest I am of the entire year. I'm literally buried. And while everybody else is resting, I'm buried. But yet I'm looking at this saying, where are those honorable men and women that are sitting in their homes, that are waiting for this to get over? Where's the honorable men and women who are out still doing in the midst of this? Those are the ones that I want to be in relationship with, and those are the ones that I want to go to war with, and those are the ones that I want to come alongside and fight for them and allow them to fight for me. I like what James Miller just put, would you follow yourself into battle? Very good point. You know, I had a prophetic word, and I think I'll kind of end with this. I had a prophetic word that they said, there will come a day when you will send your own sons and daughters into places where they would possibly die. I mean, isn't that a great word? That's a wonderful word to get as a leader. Not that they're going to accomplish or come. You may send them into places where it may require their life. And so a few weeks later, I'd taken my own son to Africa with me. I took 3 spiritual sons. One was my own son. And don't think that crossed my mind when I sent them clear across the nation with no way to connect with them. There was no phone, no ambulance, no police. They're basically on their own for 10 days. And I sent them into a college of 25,000 to minister to that college, that campus. They did big meetings there. And I went the opposite direction in the nation, and then we connected in the middle. In Nigeria, that's where we were at. Nigeria is a nation where a person can die in a heartbeat. And I sent 3 of my sons, and one of them was my own son. into an area where they possibly would have cost them their life. But you see, I saw them not as sending necessarily sons, I saw them as sending strategy. I saw them as sending resources to accomplish the battle and fulfill the kingdom and advance the apostolic in the nation, because they were carrying the same DNA I was carrying. And so I saw them as multipliers. And I gave them permission to go do what they felt they needed to do. They were on their own for 10 days to make their own choices and decisions, to carry things. And they were young. They were 20 to 25 years old. And they were young. But I knew what I had invested into them. And because of that, then I could trust them. And I went through all of these things that I just taught, these 7 points. All these points were active in their life. And through that, then, they accomplished a lot. And we accomplished a tremendous amount on that trip. And it's kind of like we're looking for those kinds of people that are willing to give their lives and go out and do this work. And I think in the season we're in right now, and I'll just kind of end with this, in the season that we are in this moment of time, I'm seeing this critical thing on social media. I'm seeing this divisiveness that's going on social media. I'm not seeing honorable men and women very much, just being very honest. But I know there's some on there too. And it's a great separating, a great dividing. I think it's needful. I think we're seeing the motives of hearts. I think we're seeing hearts exposed. If you'll read between things, you'll see that. There's nothing wrong with us judging the fruit of conversations and postings that go on. I wanted to post this morning and say, gosh, would you just please think before you post something and even see if it's doctrinally right. But there is people out there in this hour, and I'll tell you what, they're looking for somebody to lead. And we need to find each other, and we need to go do something together. So God bless you today. Thank you for getting on. This is archived. It'll be archived here when I close down. You can get back on here and watch it anytime. You can take notes, all of that. You can share this out. I encourage you. Everybody's locked down. I mean, I'm not locked down. I'm running around doing stuff. But do a watch party with this today. Get some dialogue going. Get some discussion going about it. You know, is there honorable men and women in your area that you need to be associating with? Who's held strong and held the line? Who's sat here and, paid the price and kept going forward and didn't waver? Man, those are people I want to go to war with. I mean, I want somebody that's got my back when we go to war. So God bless you all. Keep safe. Use your head. Don't just use your faith. Use your faith. But, practice the stuff that we're told to do right now. Use your faith. Keep believing God. We'll get through all this. But I want to come out of this going somewhere. I don't want to come out of this just because we came out of it. I want to come out of it because, God has called us to do something together, and we found each other in this time. So God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.